What's up, people? I am Gregor, and we are back with another track breakdown. This one is titled Nowhere to Hide, a little dark tech house for you. It's on SoundCloud, so go ahead and listen to that before we jump into it. And I appreciate likes, comments, all that helps me out greatly. Let's get into it though. So, off rip, couple main takeaways to give to you guys. One, I will not be listening to my tracks anymore outside of the actual sessions in which I'm working on them. I got pretty tired of this track. Worked on it for several days, and by the end of it, I was very over it. And what that led to was I rushed it out, and there are mistakes. Um, no track is perfect, but there are obvious mistakes that if I would have just let it marinate, given it some time, I would have picked up on it and I would have fixed them. A couple of positives I would take away from this track are one, on the mixing mastering side of things. I'm very much a novice still. However, we improved greatly, I would say. Found new tools, new ways to utilize them. The bass is the most club ready bass I've ever produced, I'd say. And also, too, this goes for, if you're trying to achieve a vibe in a track, you have to be all in. You have to go for it. And we absolutely did that here. As a result, our track is unique. I feel like you don't really hear stuff like this out there, and I'm proud of that aspect for sure. Let's get right into it though. Main goal of this track was to make dark groovy, and feel like I did that. I was listening to Express Yourself, the remix by Mochak. His bass pattern in that song, first of all, when that song comes on, I listen to it in full every single time. It just gets me going. I've noticed his bass pattern was very basic, as a lot of tech house basses are, for sure. Yet he's able to achieve such a groove with such a basic pattern, whereas if I did that same pattern, it would not be nearly as cool. Racked my brain on how he might be doing that, and we came to swing automation. We automate the swing across the entire track, and I feel like that's just the secret sauce. You don't want to go too much. I only go to a peak of 7%. But it's just enough. It's just enough to give the drums and the bass just a looser feel to it. And I feel like I feel like I have to do that from now on for all my tech house tracks. It just, to me, set it apart, and as a result, it's the best tech house beat I've ever produced. Hopping right into it though, let's start with the drums, which is where this beat started itself. So let's listen to that fully. What's going to set your beats apart are the intricacies. Now, a lot of them are going to go unnoticed, and you'll ask why. Why would I spend time on little details that people won't care about? Well, these details will make people just like your beats better, and they're not going to be able to put their finger on it why it's better than the rest, but you know why, and we know why. That's all that matters. So we'll take a look at what is a standard hi-hat pattern. There are intricacies in them. We have a 2-bar pattern here, but to me, I know several things. One, it's not just one hi-hat, it's two. I got one playing panned in the left ear, one panned in the right ear. We can see that here. Hat left, hat right. Okay. There are mistakes, intentional mistakes in this pattern. We have the velocities interchanging, so no hit feels the same from one to the next. As you can see here, the left hat, This light green pattern is the left hat, the dark green is the right hat. This left hat is playing slightly quieter than the right hat. You go to the next beat, the left hat's playing louder than the right hat. Boom, boom, you see the pattern, okay? Just a little detail that sets it apart. Also, timing. You don't want every hat landing perfectly on the beat, but you also don't want to get too out of sync, and that's where the art comes in. Making just enough mistakes to where your track feels human and not robotic, but limiting the mistakes so that the groove remains intact. And you can see here on the second beat, our left hat is hitting ever so slightly in front of the right hat. And we go to the next bar. On the last beat, the right hat is hitting ever so slightly in front of the left hat. Now, sorry, I'm just sitting here burping during my explanation. I can't help it. Now, these are mistakes, but these mistakes are what make us human, and therefore they humanize the beat and the drums in total. Now, that's not all for the hats. We have the closed hats, the ticks, I call them, and we'll go into that now. I'm actually really happy with how these came out. This is the main tick, and this is the velocity pattern. As you can see, it is changing the entire time. 2 hits here and there sound the same. Besides that, it's ever so changing, and it's what gives it a looser feel. It's what makes it feel human. We can listen to what it would sound like if it was not humanized. Let's do that now. Right? Very robotic, and now humanized. Another thing I like to do is I introduce this second tick that is a completely different tone, but not too far off from the original. That's hitting ever so often, and it gives it that, again, it just separates it from the rest, right? Okay. Also with our ticks, we are panning them not too crazy, not too egregiously, but you can see that here. This is our panning pattern, and we also pan the higher ticks. I feel like our percussion pattern's pretty standard, but it services the groove, and that's all that matters. Cool. Finally, we'll take a look at the bass pattern. Our sub is just a standard bass pattern, like I mentioned, with Mochaks earlier. However, the swing is just giving it that slightly better feel. Now, our tonal bass, the one that the average listener will be able to hear and not feel, is what gives it the groove. Boom. You pair that with just a bit of pitch bend. Also, playing with the cutoff every 8 bars. There's the first, and then we gate it the second time around. So I think that's a good segue into the vibe. So we have the groove. That's the easy part. Here comes the vibe. And like I said in the intro, we absolutely committed to this vibe. And the vibe was born. I created this melody here. Oop. Wow. Hi. Announcing your presence, huh? When I had the drums down, I came up with this little pad melody. Nice, eerie. The second time around, we add in some chords, some simple chords. For those into sound design, we can take a look at that pad right here. Nothing exceptional. It does what it does its job, and it does it well. Not every element needs to be the centerpiece. So that melody sets the tone, but we needed more. The vibe is not yet there, and I was making a little bass, and I stumbled across this. We can take a look at the bass before we get into it. I called it the dancing bass. If you can make your bass dance, you can make your people dance. Take a look at the processing. Okay. Got that. And let's take a listen. Now we are getting somewhere. That feels very robotic, very futuristic, and that's all I needed. That's all I needed in conjunction with the melody. In my head, I knew where this track was going to go. In my head, what I saw was the scene from The Matrix where Morpheus shows Neo what the real world actually looks like. And you can see it's just a war-torn, futuristic city. Life does not exist. I had ChatGPT whip this up for me. I feel like it did a pretty good job. Exactly what I was going for. So now let's take a listen to our melody and our dancing bass, and you'll see the vibe start to take shape. Personally, I like where this is going. And that's all I needed. And from there, I knew what to do with the rest of the track. Just didn't know how I was going to do it yet, but we figured that out along the way. Again, we played with the bass cutoff here. Fits that futuristic robotic vibe. We created this wide bass here that's used as a transitional piece and adds to the vibe. Again, nothing crazy, doesn't have to be. Here, used as a transitional piece and then adds to the vibe of the drop. I feel like at this point we're really cooking with the gas. The rest of the track really just writes itself. So most successful tech house does have a human element, and I liked including a human element here. Again, I think it fits the vibe. Humanity existing still, even in a dark time. Now, we can take a listen to the sample that I found. It's a hook, Turn Down the Lights, from the Speed Dance pack.
Turn down the lights and let the feeling take over. There's nowhere to hide. It's just me, you, and the moonlight.
Now, letting the feeling take over and looking at the moonlight has no place in this futuristic dystopia that we've created. So, took that out. Nowhere to Hide and Turn Down the Lights absolutely fit. We pitched it down, just fits the vibe better, I believe, and fits the key of our track. And we'll take a listen to that. There's nowhere to hide. So that was where we got our title, Nowhere to Hide. There's nowhere to hide because the machines are out to kill you. But how do you avoid them? Well, you're going to want to turn down the lights. And I feel like the placement of this vocal line was just perfect to go into the drop. And we'll take a listen to that now. Turn down the lights. I mean, that about does it for the track. So, in terms of arrangement, we definitely have room for improvement. These first 16 bars serves as an intro and introducing the drums. The next 16 introduces the vibe. We got the melody, the bass, the dancing bass, and the vocal. The next 16 serves as the first drop. First instance of the actual beat in totality with all the drums at play. Next 16 bars serves as a cool down, which, you know, do I need it? Like, in theory, you need it, right? In theory, you need it because you've just spent 32 bars dancing, ideally, hopefully. So I feel like that's fine. Next 16 bars serves as tension for the final drop. Now we have this drone shot here. It's actually just a respace. We can take a look. And it's actually just a preset that I've had from Splice. Now, I was planning on making literally every aspect of this track, apart from obviously the drums and the vocal. All the sound design was my own, and I was using this Reese as a bit of a guide to create my own sound. But this Reese just sounded so good, and it was exactly what I was going for. Now, probably plays a bit too loud in the final mix, and that's a my bad sitch. I can't do anything about it now. But I feel it really gives a similar vibe to a little movie from 2005, War of the Worlds, when you got these huge aliens coming down, and they make a sound something like this. Just the dread that would set in if you see this giant creature looming above you and it bellows out that noise. That's what we were going for, and again, feel like we accomplished that. So we give the melody a chance to fade out here. I mean, again, probably too loud. That's fine. It will catch you off guard, absolutely. If you're just listening to the track casually, that's okay. Um, I feel like you hear that sound and you go, "Oh shit, what is that? What's coming?" What's coming is the rest of the beat and the final drop. So in this last drop, we drop the melody an octave. We use the dancing bass in a sort of different way, still grooves. Yeah, and then we have the last instance of the beat. Now, the beat only goes for 32 bars in totality. For Tech House, that's probably not enough. And I probably should look to introduce a second smaller drop somewhere in between these first two, or these main two, the first and the last. In terms of arrangement, that's probably where I messed up. You're just not dancing probably as much as you should be in a Tech House track, and that's okay. We're still improving. We're still very much a novice in terms of arrangement, in terms of mixing, in terms of mastering. But man, we are getting there in terms of presenting an idea and presenting a vibe. So that'll about do it. I went to make, I strove to make dark, groovy. Feel like I did that, man. And while I'm no longer in love with this beat, I am proud. I'm proud of the amount of work I put into it, and I'm proud of how the individual elements turned out. So that'll do it for now. And Got a couple more projects I'm working on, so whenever the next one gets released, it will be followed by another track breakdown. So if you want to catch that, go ahead and subscribe. Drop a like if you like this one, if you gathered anything from it, if I could improve any aspect in how I'm presenting this information or how I'm, anything. If you see room for improvement, which I know there is, please let me know. I appreciate all your feedback. Thank you for watching. If you made it to this point, I hope you have a great day. Later.